Well, I guess we will go ahead and get started. My clock says that it's 11:20. Um, my name is Robin Ploeger. Currently, I'm the Vice President of Business Continuity and Sustainability at the University of Tulsa, a position that has nothing to do with transfer students. Kind of a complete career change for me a few months ago. But I have been involved in the transfer work on our University of Tulsa campus for many years now and serve as the chair of the Student Success Committee. And so that's kind of my interest in the work of transfer students. Back in the previous century, I was a transfer student myself, attended Hutchinson Community College in Kansas, if any of you are familiar with that, transferred to Ohio University, and was dropped into a cohort of students in the athletic training program that had been together since their freshman year. I was the first transfer student that program had ever had. So junior year starts. This is a group of, I don't even know, 10 to 12 students maybe that had been together since their freshman year, and all of a sudden they have a new classmate in their junior year. So I can appreciate the struggles that transfer students have, having been one myself, and many of you might have been as well. And as we have gone through our work at the University of Tulsa, which I'll share a little bit more information about, it's become clear to myself and others, and probably all of you in this room, that students that when they transfer to our institutions, yes, they have some academic experience at an institution of higher education, but that doesn't mean they have everything worked out and that they are just ready to be dropped into a program at that institution that they go to. The institution is different. Everything about that institution is different potentially than where they had been before. I teach this FYE course, and this semester I have 2 football players in the class that are coming to TU from one a Pac-12 institution, one a Big Ten, Big 12, however many students are in that, or how many schools are in that conference today. I think it's changing. One of them, the student from the Pac-10 school, has never been in a class of 25 students. He is used to classes of hundreds, doesn't know how to function in a class of 25. The student from the Big Ten school was there for 3 semesters towards the middle and end of COVID, had never been in an in-person class before. Students coming from community colleges, various community colleges in the state of Oklahoma, another student athlete transferring from a small private school in New York, New Jersey, I believe. Again, a completely different environment. As we've talked before, just the vast variety of students that transfer. I've got students that are mothers. One student is very pregnant. I'm not sure she's going to make it to the end of the semester without having the child. A student who's been in the military. I mean, just the whole gamut that you all experience. And so they are coming to our university, and with all of these broad life and academic experiences, and if nothing else, just need to get acclimated to the University of Tulsa, and that is part of the purpose of the class that we have created. And I'm sorry if you can't see this very well, but I did try to make some QR codes. I don't know how well those will work for you here, but this one has the slides, another one has the syllabus for the class, and others have just some of the assignments. So if these QR codes don't work for you, I will be happy to email you anything that you want, even additional information about the class. You can just email me, and my email address will be at the end of the presentation. But our work officially started in 2018, 2019 as part of the Gardner Institute Foundations of Excellence Transfer Project that University of Tulsa, along with about 7 other institutions of higher education in Oklahoma or in Tulsa, participated in. We did a self-study on our campus about all things transfer. The other institutions did as well. And from that, we developed 8 recommendations. Recommendation number 3 was to develop new transfer student orientation programs that meet the need of all transfer students. Some of the things that we have talked about already today, one size doesn't fit all as it relates to transfer students. And this course the course that we have today came out of that recommendation. Right now, this course is overseen by the Transfer Student Success Committee on our campus. It's a pass-fail class. Students are not required to take it unless they come to TU without something else that would transfer as an FYE orientation class. Most students have something, but the student success coaches, the academic advisors, really encourage students to enroll in this class because they have seen the benefits that it provides to students. Just a little bit of background. Prior to about 2018, freshman orientation was required of all students at the university. It was housed within each college and even in some cases within each department. So it looked vastly different if you were a nursing major versus an arts and sciences major versus a chemical engineering major. And so in about 2018, they started thinking about developing a standard FYE course for freshmen at TU in the College of Health Sciences, which is my background. The course was set up by your major. And I had was teaching a class that was one of these orientation classes for students in health sciences, but was starting to kind of get my section to be students that were transferring in. They didn't always fit in some of the other sections, so I had this class that I was developing of primarily transfer students. And we had, in our college, had really always strongly we never required, but we strongly encouraged, and maybe even some professors did require, students to enroll in this course that was offered in their major. But when FYE, the university-wide course came to be, then the course in each college went away, and that left the transfer students in the College of Health Sciences really without a course. And so I wanted to keep teaching that course because our faculty understood the value of it, and at that time I started communicating with associate deans and advisors in other colleges, letting them know that this course was available. Even at the time it had a health sciences prefix, it was not health sciences based. At that time there was one assignment that was kind of major specific, but it could easily be tailored to any major on campus. And so that's how the course came to be. When FYE 1001 was being developed and we started to move this course into an FYE prefix, we wanted to align it with the 1001 course to some extent, but realizing that there are differences in students' needs, the demographics are different, and this current year, the FYE 1001 has kind of taken a right turn, which I didn't want to take, so our course, the 3001, is still really the course that we developed a year or so ago, based on the course that was the original FYE and even the content that I'd been teaching prior to that. Because it's a part of the FYE program, we are able to have peer mentors assigned to each section. Now we have a transfer student or transfer students that are the peer mentor for each of the sections, and so that really helps the student to have someone that they can go to that has been in their shoes. We don't have, not all of the peer mentors have actually taken the FYE course. That will change as we go further on into the future. But you can see the course description. Transfer Experience is both an academic and personal development course that helps transfer students develop skills necessary for making a successful academic, professional, and personal transition to TU. What I tell the students the first day of class, my goal for them come December or May, depending upon the semester they teach it, is that by the end of the semester they will have a solid foundation at TU. They will feel acclimated, they will have a strong foothold on campus, whether it be academics, whether it be the social aspect, whatever it might be, and that they have plugged into those resources on campus that are going to be helpful for them throughout their time at TU, and that by the end of that semester they are on a strong path towards graduation and also professional preparation, because they're only on our campus for 2 years, 3 years, maybe occasionally 4 years, so their time is compressed. So what would students normally have 4 years to do, maybe even 5 years or longer, they've got to compress into a smaller amount of time, and they are very focused. They know what they want, they know why they came to the university, and they have some other life commitments that also take their time away, so they have to really be laser focused on what they are doing. And that's my goal, is that at the end of the semester they will have that firm foundation. Talking just a little bit about the content of the course, there are really 4 different sections of the course. The first is just helping them get a foothold on campus. We talk about the mission of the university. The university has something that's called a TU commitment, which is what we want students to feel and experience while they are at TU. First, we want them to feel accepted. We want them to be engaged on campus, be engaged in their classes. We want them to be empowered to take on leadership positions, empowered to speak in class, I mean, whatever it might be. And then the last thing is to be on a path for self-discovery. That's kind of the lifelong learning, be prepared through their education at TU to have a great life in personal life, professional life, whatever it might be. We spend a whole hour talking about campus resources, helping them know where the offices are, helping them find the office that they need on the website, and then know what resources that office provides, know where that office is located. Over the years, I've developed about 10 or 12 different scenarios of things that they would likely experience or might experience. And then we work in small groups, and they go through those scenarios, 2 or 3, 4 scenarios, however many their group is assigned, find the answer to that scenario, and then we share with the whole class. That's always a great activity. I guess it was maybe last spring. Second day of class, a student came up to me and said, I don't know where the student union is. So I'm trying to direct them. Go down this sidewalk, you should see a big building, there's the student union. And another student overheard that and said, I'm going to the student union, why don't you just walk with me? I'm like, perfect. So it's those type of connections that that help them understand what we have, the resources that we have at TU. The next part is academic success. Again, students are coming to TU from many different universities, colleges across the country, even international students. And so ensuring that they have the academic foundation, the academic foothold that they need. We talk about time management, helping them think about how they're managing their time. This is probably one of the least engaging of the sessions. I don't know that they appreciate it maybe as much as I think they should, but for the students who know they are struggling in this is a really valuable topic for them. We spend an hour talking about study skills and learning styles or learning preferences. I have some just kind of short assessments, self-assessments that they do prior to class to help them identify what their learning style, their learning preference is, what their study skills are in different areas. They do those prior to class. They come to class and we talk about them. What does it mean to be a visual learner? What does it mean to be a kinesthetic learner, an auditory learner? And then we also spend some time talking about intense study session techniques, Pomodoro technique, if you're familiar with that. That's just a short hour-long study session, 100% focused, take a break. Basically, it's to get them out of the thought process of 2 to 3 hours of just cramming, because we all know that after about the first hour or so, learning goes down. After second hour, third hour, it even goes down further. So with each of these topics and others as well, I found some really great resources online that I put in the Harvey site. That's what we call our Blackboard, so that they can read these after class, because there's no way we can cover everything they need to know in an hour, and there's 20-some students in the class, so again, there'd be 20-some different discussions that would need to happen. But there's a lot of good information I found online. There's a university in California, I can't remember which university it is, but must have the world's best student success academic advising office. They just have tons of handouts that they have put on their website that I have borrowed and put onto our folders for the students. So if that's something you would like information, I can send that to you later as well. But almost every class I have a PowerPoint that I share, just some basic information, just some things I want to make sure that they get out of the class, some questions that I want them to discuss. But we spend a lot of time in small groups, them talking about that topic, how it applies to them, what are they doing well, what are they struggling with, and usually the other students in their group are able to assist them and give them some suggestions. So the small group discussions has been a really big part of this class, and that's why I hated COVID. One of the many reasons why I hated COVID was just because we didn't have that opportunity for those small group discussions. The next section is personal growth. The first week of the semester, when we talk about the TU mission and we talk about their reasons for coming to TU, have them set some goals for the semester, some things to keep in mind as they go throughout the semester, and then they will have a reflection on that at the end of the semester. We also use Clifton Strengths, if you're familiar with that. The students pay a small course fee that pays for their Clifton Strengths access. Great activity for them. They really begin to see some things about themselves that in most cases they didn't know before. And so that again just helps, we kind of then tailor some further future assignments in the course back to Clifton Strengths, again applying it to what they know about themselves. We also talk about growth mindset. That's our topic for next week. We're just after halfway through the semester. They've had midterms. Some of them are not going to have gone probably as well as the students would have hoped, or they're having other struggles. And just to help them realize it's not over. We all struggle with one thing or another. We all have to have a positive outlook. And so growth mindset will be our topic next week. Back up. We also have them think about their values. What are the things that are important to them as they begin thinking about their career? Regardless of what their major is, there's probably a million different things that they could do with that major. And some of those things that they could do would be kind of tied to what is important to them. Is being at home with their family important? Is traveling, they like to travel, so they want to have a job where they can travel, or they want to help others, or they want to have a job that makes a six-figure salary. Having them begin to think about some of those things that are important to them, and then doing an activity where they really just Google, what can I do with a blank major? Begin to look at not just, I could be a nurse in a hospital, or I could be a nurse in St. John Hospital, St. Francis, Hillcrest, Mercy, in a big hospital system, but what are the different areas where a nurse could work? Yeah, hospital, clinic, school nurse, nurse education. A couple years ago, a student found forensic nursing. Legal stuff. There's just all kinds of things. So getting them to think outside the box of what they thought they could do with their whatever major it is. We do a lot with career exploration. They have several assignments where they have to utilize Arcane Careers, our career services office, again, just to plug into those resources that are available to them, because again, they're there for 2 years, 3 years. This is compressed. Some of them might be ready for an internship this summer. There's things they need to do now and throughout the spring to really be ready for that internship, and making sure they've made all of those connections. We also do Design Your Life, if you're familiar with that program. It's something that originated at Stanford. It's the very abbreviated version of it. But again, we talk about things from an academic side, a social side, a professional side, that they need to be doing for this year and the following 4 years, so then they are on a path towards their career goals. And again, having them think about the ideal job, or possibly a random job. One of the things that Design Your Life asks them to think about, if money was no object and you would have your basic needs taken care of, what is just a random thing you would want to do for a career? And so they kind of explore that. One student, his random thing that he wanted to do was to open up a Chick-fil-A, and it wasn't actually that random. He's probably in the process of doing it now. But just kind of get them to think outside the box of the things that they could be doing. Joining this club or participating in this, getting to know faculty member X to get some ideas on whatever it might be. And there are several short reflection assignments that they do, just really designed to help the students reflect on the things we talked about and begin to implement those in their life. This is something that would easily take them 15 or 20 minutes to think about, write down. The one exception is the study skills learning style one, but the rest of them are just short assignments, again, just to get them to think about it, because I don't want them to just sit there in class for an hour, talk about it with their classmates, and then forget about it. But if they spend a little time thinking about it, answer some questions, I think it will be a little bit more solidified in their head. The learning styles or learning preferences, study skills, they actually have to implement some things, different ways they're studying, different ways they're taking notes. Most of the assignments are due the following week. This one is actually 3 weeks later. That way they do have time to practice some of these things and figure out what's going to work for them. They have several out-of-class assignments. There's 2 assignments that I call campus involvement, and this is just to get them out of their dorm, get them out of their apartment, get them out of their off-campus home. Go to 2 different activities on campus. It can even be a football game or a basketball game or a concert or a lecture or a student organization that they're not already affiliated with. Just 2 different events on campus, or they could volunteer. I give them a long list of things that would count. Then they have the option of emailing me if they want to do something else that isn't on the list, but that they would like to do. And almost always I tell them that would count. So it's just a way for them to integrate into campus. Again, they a lot of times feel isolated. They think they're the only one. They're very busy with other things. But getting involved in all that the university has to offer. Last fall, there was a lady in the class. She was 57 years old. The only reason I know that is because she announced it to the whole class. And she just didn't want to go to the student organization. She didn't want to go hang out with some 19 to 22-year-olds. She didn't want to go to a sporting event. She didn't want to do this, didn't want to do this. I said, there are great lectures. Go to those. So again, it's really just the student can customize it to whatever their interests are. They have to go to 2 of those activities. They also have to interview a faculty member. It can be any faculty member, help them see the list of all the faculty members on campus. It could be somebody that's a faculty member in their class this semester. It could be a faculty member from their major. It could be a faculty member that their instructor tells them would be a good person to interview just because their instructor knows this person. So again, just making a connection with a faculty member outside of class. Students think faculty are very scary, unapproachable. You know, you've probably heard all of those things. But having them have that intentional conversation with a faculty member, and almost always it turns out to be a great experience. It breaks down barriers. It helps them open up and be more willing to talk with a faculty member in the future for various other reasons. That assignment is due next week, so we will see what they get. Majority of them have said they have interviewed their faculty member. I'm just hoping I have 20-some assignments next week. They also have to interview an alum. That one is also very scary. There's resources that TU has, that a network where alums can kind of get into this network. Their information is there. Students have an easy way to contact them. These are alums who have indicated that they want to help current students. And there's many other ways that students can connect with alums, but that is another assignment. Again, it could be somebody that's in a career they're planning to go to. It could be somebody from their hometown or a city they want to move to in the future. They can choose who the alum is. They also have to meet with their career coach. As part of our career services office, every undergraduate student based on their college has a career coach assigned. So they have to meet with that career coach, again, just to make a connection, but to begin planning out what they want at the University of Tulsa as far as their plans. Are they seeking an internship? If so, then let's make sure we're on the path for that. If they're thinking about grad school or professional school, what is it that they need to be doing now to prepare for that? They also have to attend a Kane Careers workshop or an event. Again, there's a long list of things that that are options there. They have to also set up Handshake, which is, if your universities have Handshake, they have to set up a profile for Handshake. That's another an assignment. And then their final kind of is some questions of summary of the whole class, kind of going back to their goals. How did they do with their goals? How have they utilized through the semester the things we talked about with growth mindset or study skills, learning styles, values, and then their final kind of design your life plan, as well as some questions related to that. So that is the majority of the course. And I wanted to, and just as we developed this, even as I was doing this as part of the HS 1001, is this really beneficial for the students? Are they getting out of it what I hoped they would? And so the student comments from my section, as well as some of the other 3001 sections now, have really helped us understand that this is valuable to the students. And these are just some of the comments that have come from their course evals. I have learned study skills, mindset skills, and time management skills that I will carry with me throughout the semester. So again, a lot of times we think they already have study skills, they already know how to manage their time, but comments like this just validate that not all of them do. The PowerPoints and guest speakers were helpful to learning about working my way through college struggles and the resources we have access to. The interview assignment and career coach assignments were especially helpful. Ways to help studying, finding resources, managing finances, and discovering self-growth and career beyond college. This class was not very rigorous. I'm glad to hear that. If this was their hardest class, we've got problems. But was extremely helpful for me with getting involved on campus and knowing what and where the resources are that I can reach out to. I've learned how to maximize my time here at TU. I've learned a great deal about the opportunities here at TU and the resources we as students can take advantage of. I feel more prepared for college with the study skills, lifestyle skills, and advice given in class. In this last one, it helped me integrate painlessly into TU's campus in these uncertain and troublesome times, and that was from a student that took the class in the middle of pandemic when we were kind of hybrid. My class met in person for the most part, but a lot of their other classes were online. What I hope to find over time is that students who take this 3001 class have a higher retention rate and graduation rate than students who don't. The predecessor course, that 1001, HS 1001, similar to university retention data, as we look at just transfer students across campus, it hasn't really had much of a difference. And really the same is true for students who took the FYE 3001 class that started last fall. So students who were in the class last fall came back in the spring at 91.6%. By estimation, our final census data isn't available yet for this fall semester, but my estimate is that about 81% of students who took the class last fall are coming back to TU. I don't know what the university retention data is. And then students who took the class in the spring, 86% of them are back for the fall semester. And that was really encouraging because this spring semester, I don't know what was going on with the group of students, but they struggled more in this class than ever. I had several Ds, which I didn't even think didn't know it was possible. Yes, it's possible, but I was just really worried if these students didn't finish the FYE 1001 class, what does that mean for their other classes? And the vast majority of those who struggled in this FYE course are back, and their grades are actually good. So they maybe were just putting aside things from this class to focus on the chemistry, the math, the whatever other classes, which that's fine. But I was just really glad to see they were back, even with some of the struggles that I knew they were having in the spring semester. I also, for this presentation, as well as a similar presentation I did at another conference last spring, I emailed students who had been in the class in previous semesters, including students in the HS 1001, and just said, I'm doing this presentation, you were in this class, are there things that you still use that you have taken away from this class? I don't know what to expect. this was worthless. Nobody ever said that. That was my fear. But again, I got some good feedback from students, and these are students that had been out of the class for as much as a semester or even a year, I think in a couple cases even 18 months. The class was helpful as an introduction to other students as well as what the university has to offer. I still use the time management ideas that were discussed and have really improved my grades because of it. She said she's a mom of 4, and I know exactly who this is just by that comment. And she is one that had been out of higher education for a few years. She had gotten an associate's degree, or at least taken some lower level classes. She was a nursing major and jumped right back into the nursing program with 4 kids that I think were probably all under the age of 15 or 12 or something like that. Note-taking strategies was especially helpful to me. This person has incorporated and adapted a pretty successful note-taking strategy. Another student, this helped to diminish their imposter syndrome, specifically through the interviewing assignment. So again, as stressful as that is, calling a faculty member or an alum and saying, can I talk with you, that really helped the student gain confidence and made connections. That they've learned that the staff at TU is wanting them to be successful, but also just that group of new students who are in the same situation as them, that helped this particular student. Like I said, I do a lot of small group discussions, talk about something in your small group, and then report back to the class. This last week, or I guess it was a little over a week ago, we talked about values and explore your major, and so I just randomly divided them up into groups. And usually when other weeks I've done this, there's always the one person in every group who is just always the spokesperson. And very rarely do I just point to somebody and say, let's hear from you. But this particular week, every single group, at least once, had somebody I had not heard from in the class other than just acknowledging that they were here when I called roll. So that was really good, that they had felt safe in this class. They had made a group of friends within their classmates, and they were willing to speak up in this classroom setting. So I think that they have that connection now. I'm not sure what's going on with the TV, at least this one. The intense study sessions assignment was very meaningful for one particular student, really helped them focus on a different way to study. I believe this might have also been a nursing student and knew that they had a lot of studying they were going to have to do, and the long cramming sessions weren't going to work for them. Another student talked about the positive mindset. As things have gotten tough as they've gone through the subsequent semesters, they can look back at that and just think about it could be worse. We didn't talk about that in class, so that must have been something that came up in their own mind. But you know what? I've got this. Let's go to work. That this was a bad test. This was a bad paper, but we can go on. And just a few lessons learned, some things that continuous improvement that we have made through the 3 semesters of the class is this semester I've taken out some of the weekly reflection assignments. I took out one on the campus resources, the time management one. I took that out. I was beginning to think students might just be seeing those as busy work. We're still figuring out the best sequence for the content. I think this upcoming spring, when I teach it again, we're going to move the presentation by the Kane Careers, our career services person, earlier in the semester, because then they can find out about the career fair. They can find out about all of the different activities that lead up to the career fair. Yes, they get tons of emails about them, but as has been said previously, they don't always read those. So that's another change that we'll make for the future. Really understanding the differences between students. When we have a group of 18-year-olds that are traditional students, it's pretty, the same. You can create assignments and everybody's kind of in the same boat. But these transfer students, they're not. So creating the assignments with real-world application that they can think about for their particular situation, their major, their family, their whatever it is, and apply it to their life, I think is really important. Just like that 57-year-old student, if I said, you have to go to a student organization meeting, she'd be like, nope, I'm out. But because she could do something that would be of interest to her, then she got the assignments done. And the students do benefit from discussing things in small groups. We probably know that. Sometimes I just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and go to your group. Sometimes I divide them up by major. So if there's a major specific topic I want them to talk about, they can talk about it with those that maybe are in similar classes. One thing that I did a couple of weeks ago that I thought was interesting is, it was when we were talking about the values. I wanted to kind of divide them up into things that maybe were of interest to them. So I let them choose. Do you consider yourself a non-traditional student, or do you consider yourself a traditional student? Was very careful in the words that I used, that I didn't kind of offend anybody or put them into a group that they might not consider themselves. But it was amazing to me the number of students that I know are 18 to 22 years old considered themselves non-traditional students because of their working full-time, or they live off campus, or even several of the athletes put themselves in the non-traditional group. And I don't think it was because that was the closest group to where they were sitting, but I think it's because they have these other competing responsibilities in their life that do take their time away from their academics. And so that was just really interesting to see. But I think this is a course that I hope will continue at our university. I think it is something that is important to students, and I think as we go through more semesters of offering this course, we will begin to see the impact that it really has on students, especially as they have opportunities to talk with their peer mentors and have seen how the peer mentors maybe have used some of these topics that we have discussed. And I know as we all are probably attempting to get more transfer students, this is not something that's going to go away. Transfer students are going to become a bigger part of our campus populations, and so I think making sure that we have those resources in place to support them is going to be important. And again, all of our campuses are different. The students that we serve are different, but still keeping these students on the forefront of our mind. So with that, if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Yeah.
Is it a 1-hour class at least for 16 weeks? Or?
Yes, it's a 1-hour class. It does meet the entire semester. There are a couple of weeks we don't meet because I just kind of give them credit for meeting, knowing that they're having these faculty interviews and the campus involvement assignments. And so of the 15, 16 weeks, it probably meets 13 or 14 weeks. So yeah, good question. But yes, it is a 1 hour and it's pass-fail. Yep.
Since it's an optional but encouraged course,
Mm-hmm.
have you had a chance to go in and look at some of the student demographics of the students who enroll in the course versus your overall transfer student population? Like I'm thinking percentage of first generation, students of colors, other identity groups.
I have not yet, but that is very interesting. And through our kind of dashboard system that we have of looking at all the student data, they're just really getting that set up now where you could see some of that nuanced information about these students. So I have not done that a lot yet, but that is something that I want to do.
Just as a follow-up, we have taught a similar kind of course in our college here at OSU for many years, and one of the things that we found was if it was a first-generation student, particularly a first-generation student and a student of color, anywhere from 4 to 17 times more likely to be retained.
Yeah.
If they had taken our version of a first-year experience course.
That's. No, I think that's good. That's very good information, and that's something that I want to do as I now have access to this, or this platform has been built out in a way that we can see a lot of that. And I think our success coaches, our academic advisors, they know a lot about the students and their background of, all different. They're, just the things you mentioned, where they're coming from, their GPA, and especially those students that would potentially be considered at risk. They really encourage those students to enroll in this course. But I do want to delve more into, who are the students and what impact the class is having on them. So, yeah.
Was that a new course prefix created specifically for this course?
It's for there is the FYE 1001, which is for freshmen. There is an FYE, I think it's 1021, that is kind of a class for students, freshman students who get put on probation after their first semester. It's kind of a study skills class. And then 3001 are the only classes right now that have the FYE prefix. And that group of classes as a whole is overseen by the first year experience program. Our Transfer Student Success Committee has specific responsibilities over the 3001 course. So.
My follow-up to that, do you have any challenges in, like, I guess, getting buy-in to this FYE prefix?
No, it was something that the university wanted to do. So top-down leadership sometimes just has to happen. And when the course was first developed, it was kind of developed outside of a lot of the traditional academic colleges, because it was set up at that time through the student success, student advising offices, and then first year experience has taken it over. After a couple iterations of 1001, we have gotten faculty more into assisting with some of the content in the 1001 versions of it, but faculty have the option to teach a section of the 1001 if they want to, if it's something that's of interest to them. There is a small stipend for doing it, but for those that don't have an interest in it, they just opt out. But there hasn't been a real uprising against offering the course or having that prefix, if that makes sense.
How many sections I teach this version of the class at OU.
Okay.
So how many sections do you offer? And then, like, in what population of your transfer students approximately do you think, like, percentage-wise, that you're covering with that?
This semester we have 3 sections. We had put on the schedule a 4th section, but there was only 7 students in it, and so they could all roll into one of the other sections. We have about probably, I'm not sure what the lowest section is. My section has 24 students. I think the lowest one has 17, so the cap is 26 or 28. This semester, so if there's approximately 60 students taking FYE 3001, that's probably a little bit more, right around 50%. That are taking it this semester. So and I would have to think back to previous semesters. And like I said, this is only the 3rd semester we've taught it. But our goal would be to have, probably not 100%, but if we could get even 75 or 80%, I think that would be our goal. So, any other questions? Is there anything else for those of you that have a course like this at your institution? Are there things that you're doing in your course that we're not doing at TU that helps your students that we might benefit from as well?
I know in my class, we bring in money coaches.
Okay.
So the
Yeah.
Finance Center,
Okay.
which when I did a Kahoot with them, that was one of the biggest,
Okay.
the things, and what they did more than just, like, this is FAFSA, this is that, they actually talked about, like, money in college and how it's spending and credit cards, like the actual use of the money,
Okay.
which my students found really, really good. And then also breaking down academic advising, not just the classes, but the why of the classes. So for, like, OU, we're a university, but our law colleges are different. So my students were from different colleges within the university, to try to explain to them State Board of Regents.
Yep.
And the university has requirements. Then your college has requirements. Then your division has requirements. And so being able to break it down like that made them see, like, oh, that's why she doesn't have to take Spanish and I have to take
Got
Spanish
it.
because we're 2 different colleges.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a mystery to them. So I know that those 2 things actually, and then making them understand catalog years and the contract, that just breaking it down, super 101, was very beneficial for them, per my students this semester. So, yay.
Good. Yeah. And
I'm really grateful because that was my section.
Yeah, and we did have a financial workshop in the in previous semesters, and it didn't go as well as yours did. And so we have made that as one of the campus involvement assignments they can do. There's many workshops throughout the semester, so they can pick and choose ones that work. But that's interesting that is something that your students liked. It might just be we need to tailor our presentation better to the students. Were you going to say?
We don't teach like a FIU class like this anymore, but when I did like a bunch of like financial planning and like, I remember one year I was getting married and like they wanted to know like the budget of a wedding. And so that's one of the things we brought in, and they could pick their own, scenario. I know a couple people were wanting to save up for a new car, and it's like, okay, well, figure out a budget and stuff like that.
Yeah.
For your new car. So I think just getting real life aspects of that, and bringing in the money coaches and showing like, hey, this is the budget, this is the credit card, stuff like that.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that financial piece is so important for all students. This group of students for sure. So, well, I appreciate your time. I think my email address is probably there's my email address. So if you have any questions, you want any of this information, feel free to email me, and I will be happy to send it to you. If there's additional information you want about content that we cover, if you want PowerPoints or anything like that, just let me know. I'd be happy to send it to you. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.